What Stoicism really boils down to isn't abstract theory, but a way of living. It's about ethics, sure, but not in that wag your finger kind of way. It's grounded in logic and in how they saw the natural world working. At its heart, the Stoics argued that since we're wired to live with and around other people, real happiness, what they called eudaimonia, comes from accepting life as it is, not from chasing pleasures or hiding from pain, but from using our brains to understand the world, doing our part in the bigger picture. And this bit always feels radical, treating others with fairness and decency. Fast forward 2,000 years. Our world looks nothing like ancient Athens, but weirdly enough, the problems rhyme. Instead of crowded marketplaces, we've got phones buzzing 24/7. Instead of worrying about gladiators, we worry about bills, deadlines, or the gnawing feeling that everyone else on Instagram is happier than we are. And honestly, it's exhausting. The endless scroll, the news cycle, the obsession with likes, it all leaves people anxious, restless, even powerless. This is exactly where Stoicism sneaks back in. The old school Stoic vibe of resilience, of keeping your emotions steady, of focusing only on what really matters, it feels like a cure to modern life's constant noise. The big takeaway? We can't control most of what happens out there, but we can control how we see it and how we show up. And that's a lifesaver in the chaos of the 21st century. One of the most underrated but powerful Stoic ideas is something they called the discipline of assent. Fancy phrase, but what it really means is this. Before you buy into your first reaction, whether it's anger, fear, or just that gut punch of panic, you pause. You check the story your brain is telling you. Is this actually true? Or is it just me projecting, overreacting, making something bigger than it is? Because the Stoics insisted that events aren't inherently good or bad. They're just events. It's us who slap labels on them. Once you get that, it's kind of liberating. Suddenly, instead of being pushed around by emotions every time life throws a curveball, you get to decide how you want to interpret it. Wisdom instead of panicked reactions. Calm instead of chaos. And trust me, I've had those moments where I catch myself spiraling. Something small, like an offhand comment, and I remember this practice. It doesn't make the problem vanish, but it definitely gives me breathing space. And sometimes that's all you need to move through life without losing your balance. One of the bedrock ideas in Stoicism, the kind of thing Epictetus would hammer on again and again, is the dichotomy of control. The concept is simple. Some things are up to us, and some things aren't. What's up to us? Our thoughts, our judgments, the stuff we choose to want, and the actions we actually take. That's our inner world. Everything else, the weather, our health, the way other people treat us, even whether our boss likes us, well, that's outside our hands. The Stoic sage, as they called it, doesn't waste time trying to bend the universe. They pour their energy into their inner life, keeping it steady, virtuous, grounded, while meeting whatever fate throws their way with a kind of quiet shrug. And honestly, that's not just some abstract philosophy. It's a day-to-day survival tactic. Stop worrying about what you can't fix. And suddenly, life feels lighter, like you just dropped a backpack full of bricks you didn't realize you were carrying. Take a second to hit that subscribe button. Keep exploring thought-provoking ideas together, Riz. The real magic, the Stoics argued, happens inside our own heads. We may not get to choose what happens to us, but we do get to choose how we see it and how we respond. And that's where the power is. Stoicism isn't about being a robot, pretending you don't feel things. It's about tracing your emotions back to the judgments you've slapped onto an event and then asking, do I really want to believe that story? Say someone insults you. Your gut reaction might be anger, embarrassment, maybe even shame. Totally normal. But then a Stoic would hit pause. They'd look at that insult and go, hang on. These are just words. This person's probably lashing out from their own mess. Suddenly, the sting dulls. Instead of spiraling into resentment, you might even find compassion sneaking in. I've tried this a couple times myself. Not perfectly, mind you, but it's shocking how quickly an attack can lose its teeth once you stop buying into the judgment that it actually diminishes you. This ties straight into what they call the discipline of desire. Basically, it's retraining your wants. Want the right things and your whole perspective shifts. The Stoics said, only desire what you actually control virtue, integrity, a will aligned with nature, and only avoid what you truly control, vice, weakness, a will twisted out of shape. Everything else, let it be. Think about it. Say you're gunning for a promotion at work. You can't actually control whether your boss gives it to you. You can show up, do your best, be reliable, be decent. That part's on you. But whether the title or raise happens, that's external. If you pin your happiness to that outcome, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. If you pin it to your effort and character, though, you win either way. And not to get too preachy here, but when I've managed to shift my perspective like that, even in tiny ways, it feels like someone just unclenched a knot in my chest. It's not about giving up ambition. It's about making sure your peace of mind isn't chained to somebody else's decision. One of the most striking ideas in Stoicism, the one that really makes you stop and think, is that it's not the world itself that messes us up, but how we see it. The Stoics drew this sharp line. Impressions are the raw hits of reality, the things that happen to us. Judgments are the stories we slap on top of them, and it's those stories that disturb us. That's both humbling and wildly empowering, because if it's not the event, but my interpretation of it that causes half my suffering, then I can actually do something about it. I can rewrite the story. This is basically the ancient blueprint for what psychologists now call cognitive reframing. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, owes a lot to this Stoic insight. And if you've ever caught yourself saying, okay, maybe I'm overreacting, you've dabbled in it too. The Stoics even had exercises to flex this muscle. One of my favorites is the so-called view from above. Picture yourself floating high above the earth, like cosmic Google Maps mode. Suddenly, your stress about a late assignment or a fight with a friend, it feels laughably small against the backdrop of galaxies and centuries of human struggle. I've tried this while lying awake at 3 a.m., spiraling about something dumb, and weirdly enough, it works. Another exercise is what they call negative visualization. Sounds grim, but stay with me. You imagine losing the things you love, your health, your stuff, even people you care about. At first it stings, but then you realize how precious those things are right now. And if the day ever comes when you do lose them, because let's face it, we all will someday, the blow might not knock you completely off your feet. You'll be a little more ready, a little steadier. And honestly, you don't need big cosmic crises to see how this plays out. Take the all too familiar hell of being stuck in an airport with a delayed flight. Most people, me included sometimes, stew in frustration, pacing around, glaring at the departure board. A Stoic, though, they might flip the script. Okay, more time to read, or catch up on a podcast, or just sit quietly without anyone demanding anything from me. Same situation, completely different experience. Or consider something heavier like losing a job. The gut reaction? Panic, grief, maybe even shame. Totally human. But with a Stoic lens, you could frame it as a reset button. Time to pivot into something new, pick up a skill, or finally prioritize family. Doesn't mean it's not hard. It just means you refuse to hand over your inner peace to circumstances you can't control. And that's the heart of it. Shifting perspective doesn't magically erase pain, but it gives you a sturdier footing to stand on. Life throws curveballs, sure, but whether they crush you or sharpen you, that's still, somehow, up to you. Getting the hang of what the Stoics called the Discipline of Assent isn't exactly a walk in the park. It's hard work. They knew that, which is why they came up with practical tricks to help. One of the big ones is something we'd now call cognitive distancing. Basically, it's learning to put a gap between what happens to you and how you decide to react. The Stoic move is, when some strong emotion, anger, fear, jealousy hits you, stop for a second and tell yourself, this is just an impression, not the thing itself. It sounds almost too simple, but saying it out loud can actually slow down that automatic chain reaction where your brain jumps straight from trigger to meltdown. You catch yourself, you breathe, you think. And in that tiny space, you suddenly have options. Another one of their tools was premeditation of adversity. Now, at first glance, that sounds grim, like sitting around waiting for disaster to strike. But that's not the spirit of it. It's more about mental rehearsal. Imagine what might go wrong. The deal falling through, the friend disappointing you, the illness that shows up out of nowhere. You don't dwell on it to make yourself miserable. You do it to be ready. I've tried this before, big life events like interviews or trips, and it's surprisingly calming. If you've already pictured the worst case scenario and how you'd handle it, it loses some of its bite. Instead of being blindsided, you think, ah, right, I expected this. The beauty is you can weave these practices into your day without turning your life upside down. Start the morning with a quick check-in. Okay, what's likely to test me today? How will I handle it without losing my cool? During the day, when stress spikes, traffic jams, emails piling up, someone being rude, you practice cognitive distancing. And at night, maybe you jot down a few lines in a journal. What judgments did I make today? Did I blow something out of proportion? Could I see it differently tomorrow? I've found even 10 minutes of writing can flip the way I look at a situation. Of course, discipline's the hard part. Emotions don't politely step aside just because you've read Marcus Aurelius. You'll slip up. I definitely have. You'll lose your temper or let anxiety run wild. And that's okay. Stoicism was never about instant perfection. It's a lifetime practice. The trick is not beating yourself up for falling short, but picking it back up the next day. Community helps too. Talking about this stuff with people who get it makes it easier to stay on track. And dipping back into the writings of the old Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus, it's like getting a pep talk from wise friends across centuries. In the end, mastering assent isn't about arriving. It's about showing up again and again, treating every messy, frustrating, beautiful challenge as one more chance to practice. The Stoics keep bringing us back to the inner world, thoughts, judgments, the stories we tell ourselves. That's the arena we actually rule over. And when you start paying attention there, when you realize half the storms you're caught in are just weather systems you built in your own head, it's kind of a revelation. The discipline of assent is the practice that really drills this home. Catch the impression. Don't just swallow it whole. Ask yourself, do I actually believe this, or is it just my brain freaking out again? That pause can feel like a tiny superpower. You don't stop feeling, you just stop being dragged around by whatever emotion shows up first. Now, I won't lie, walking the Stoic path isn't all calm wisdom and sage nods. It's messy, frustrating, and sometimes feels impossible. You'll fail. I've had days where I read Marcus Aurelius in the morning, swore to myself I'd stay calm, and by lunch I was cursing traffic or stewing over some offhand comment. But the Stoics weren't after perfection. They were after practice. And that's something anyone can do. Start small. A little journaling, a moment of reflection before bed, or even just remembering in the middle of a bad day, hey, this thought is actually mine to control. What Stoicism promises isn't survival in a hostile world. It's something bigger. It's a way of thriving, even when life's spinning out in ways you didn't choose. It's resilience, tranquility, a sense of being anchored when everything else is moving. And yeah, it takes effort. It takes showing up day after day, trying again when you fall flat. But the door's always open. Anyone can walk this path, and honestly, in a world like ours, where everything feels like it's tugging you in a million directions, that kind of groundedness isn't just appealing, it feels necessary. If any part of this resonated with you, share it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey of reflection, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Watch the next video.